Kia ora, this is Bus Life. I'm Nikki and I live in this bus here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and have done for the last 5 years with my partner Paul. We're currently parked up at the Belclutha Showgrounds and we're heading to Invercargill today to arrive in time for the Burt Munro Challenge. So we started our day early as usual with coffee, brekkie, then we packed up and stowed away, we hooked up the car and we went over to the dump station that's here on site at the Belclutha Showgrounds. It has got one of those annoying push taps that stops every 30 seconds, which is pretty annoying when you've got 300 litres to fill, but anyway, we're ready and we're hitting the road. We're taking this car to Invercargill, which is about 125 k's away and should take us about an hour and a half. It was a cloudy Tuesday morning when we left Belclutha, which soon turned into rain, the first bit of rain since we've been in the South Island. We crossed the bridge in Clinton and we noticed an old factory right on the edge of the river. There was a large parking area just over the bridge, so we pulled up and we went for a nosy. When we jumped back in the bus at the intersection, we went left instead of right, skipping Gore and shooting straight down State Highway 93 to Invercargill. When we arrived in Invercargill, it was wet. We headed straight for the NZMCA Park in West Invercargill as our first destination because NZMCA parks are always a good starting point and then you can explore other options from there. So that's what we did. The NZMCA Park was busy, which was to be expected because the Burt Munro Challenge starts tomorrow. Not only was it busy, but it also sits right on the water, so there was some serious salt spray. Many wouldn't mind this, in fact many would prefer this as a location, but for us in a steel chassis bus, salt is just not our friend. So we unhooked the car, parked up, signed in, and then we went for a drive to check out some other parking options. Going off the NZMCA app, there weren't actually that many options in Invercargill, so I put a post on the motorhoming page and asked for some insight. Ascot Racecourse had been suggested, and typically racecourses and showgrounds are usually pretty good, spacious, quiet options. So we went to check it out, and this racecourse was exactly that. At $15 a night, power if you wanted, toilets and rubbish facilities, and no other motorhomes currently parked there. This was definitely our preferred choice for parking. So we went back to the bus via Fat Bastard Pies for lunch, because if you don't, you're seriously missing out. After our pie, we headed back to the NZMCA Park, signed out, and convoyed bus and car to Ascot Racecourse. We had free rein of where we wanted to park, so we headed straight down the end with some shady and sheltering trees. Paul was able to level us by feel without chocks, and we settled in and stayed here for the afternoon. On Wednesday, it was the 8th of Feb and the first day of the Burt Munro Challenge. The Burt Munro Challenge is a 4-day motorcycle event that has different challenges each day, and we were there purely as spectators. On day 1 of Burt Munro, they have the Honda Sprints at Tonga Park near Sandy Point, and this one's a free event, so we went and checked it out. You were able to drive the car in and park up on the bank and watch the sprints from there, so that's what we did. It was a bit wet, so racing was sort of on and off, but we stayed for a couple of hours before we left and hit the supermarket on the way home. On Thursday, day 2 of Burt Munro, in the morning was the hill climb and bluff, so we made this be a bit of a bluff exploration day while we were there for the hill climb. It was $20 per person to get in, and you watched from the bottom of the hill as the bikes race against the clock and climb up the iconic Motupohue Bluff Hill. We quite enjoyed looking around Bluff. It's a pretty cool place. There's some great mural work. We went to the lighthouse and out to Stirling Point because we had to take some pictures at the iconic signpost. We wanted to treat ourselves for lunch and I desperately wanted some bluff oysters, so we headed up to Oyster Cove. But it was closed, so we went for a look around to see what else was there. We tried to get oysters from Fowler's and Can Do, but no luck. Closed. Crazy, we thought, when there is an event in your town and you're all closed. So we went back to Oyster Cove when it was open, only to read that they were short-staffed and therefore their meals were taking extra long to prepare. With a buggered back, sitting to eat is already hard enough, and so an extra long wait is just not even an option for me. So we left, and when we got back to Invercargill, we went to the King's Fish Market. And it was there where we discovered a sign on the door that says that it's not Bluff oyster season. No wonder we couldn't get any and that everything in Bluff was shut. What a shame. Eating Bluff oysters was definitely one of my must-dos while we were here, so that was a bit of a shame. We jumped on Google, read some reviews and headed out to TJ's Kitchen and got a feed from there. And oh my God, this was such a good decision. Best burgers, best fish, chips, cooked perfectly. Fabulous. What a mean feed. That evening, it was the Twilight Drags, so we went back to Tonga Park to watch the motorcycle drag racing. This was a pretty cool evening. The weather was good, the vibe was on point, bikes everywhere, everyone smiling and greeting each other, good coffee, the drag racing was cool too, and it was $20 per person per entry. On Friday, it was day 3 of the Burt Munro, which was the beach race. Now, if you know, you know. We were really looking forward to this. Indian motorcycle beach racing and New Zealand champs. Racing on Oreti Beach in Otatara at low tide. You can drive your car onto the beach, park your car, and then go and find a spot in the dunes to watch the racing. This was so cool. Beautiful day, which was apparently not a common sight for this event at all. Usually it's very cold and windy apparently, but not today. Being that they're racing and we're parked on the beach, obviously time is a factor as they're racing against the clock and also against the tide. So it was a little nerve-wracking watching to see if the people that had their vehicles parked right on the waterline were able to get them out in time, and they were, thankfully. It was quite interesting watching the scramble though. So we got out, we grabbed a fat bastard pie for lunch. Nom, 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 nom. We did some laundry and then we went home to light our icicle candle and chill. Day 4 of Burt Munro was the Super Shelley Speedway event. In the morning we took our bus out and dumped our waste and refilled our fresh water tanks. The dump station was literally a K away in Glengarry. It was so handy. We definitely made great use of it being so close. This was the same shop complex where the laundromat was too, which is super handy. And for the most part we had good weather, so we were able to save some money drying it on the line. It was a 3 p.m. start for Speedway and the place was chocker when we arrived. So busy, but we got a great park and joined the cuzzies under their gazebo. It was a well-organised event. The weather was turned on, but the highlight was definitely watching the cuz on the track in his sidecar. It was an awesome day's racing. The next day was Sunday and it had been hot. These days were scorching and I needed a swim. So we went to Riverton and spent a few hours in the water. We had snorkels and masks and flippers, but man, I can't do a mask and snorkel. It's so bloody scary. It's like claustrophobia on a whole nother level. Clearly, I need some mask and snorkel practice in calm, still water. We had hoped to find kinner in the water, but had no luck. So we went for a late lunch at the local Bayside Fish Supply for fish and chips. We took it to a spot on the estuary where a table was waiting for us. Man, these fish and chips were on. So good. Beautifully fresh fish and all cooked perfectly. After lunch, we went on a cockle hunt, got a feed and headed home to cook them up for tea. Yum. Day 6 in Invercargill and we're still parked at the racecourse paying $15 a night and we are still the only motorhome here. Just how we like it. Monday started pretty quiet and chill in the morning and then we decided to go to the Bill Richardson Transport Museum. This is one serious museum. It's huge. We got a turbo ticket which was entry to the Bill Richardson Transport Museum and the classic motorcycle Mecca, costing us $70 each. The condition was that you visit the motorcycle Mecca within 1 month of purchasing the ticket, which we knew we would do before we leave Invercargill, so we went for it. Anyway, after the museum, it was home to recover from the overload for our senses. On Tuesday, the 14th of February, we decided to head for the Catlins. Early, at around 7:30 a.m, I hit the supermarket to stock us up because looking at Google Maps, there doesn't seem to be many shops in the Catlins, so best we be prepared. Looking at the NZMCA app, we decide that we will head for the NZMCA park in Niagara, but as there seems to only be one dump station in the Catlins, we're not quite sure how long we're going to be there for. We can last 3 days comfortably, so our first stop is to the dump station to empty our waste tanks and refill our fresh water tanks, and then that will give us 3 days and we can make a decision further when we're there. Niagara is about 75 k's from Invercargill, so it's expected to take us about an hour to get there. We haven't put any fuel in since leaving Dunedin, so we stopped in at the gas station and filled up. We put $170 of diesel in the bus and we hit the road. It was about 10:30 in the morning when we arrived. We signed in, paid, unstowed the bus and just cruised for a couple of hours. We went for a little wander around where we were, and in the early evening we went out to Curio Bay. You actually drive through a campground to go out and see the point, which is quite cool. It would be an incredible place to park up for the night or two, but it's not suitable for big rigs and large vehicles like us. Anyway, we found a spot on the bank and we sat and watched the world go by. And we watched pods of Hector's dolphins coming into play in the bay. So cool to see, and it was such a great day for it. Wednesday we decided to just chill, so it was a quiet morning, until I discovered that Speedway was on at Riverside Speedway in Invercargill. On a Wednesday? What? I guess it is holiday season. Well, we hadn't been to that track and we weren't going to miss it because there were no other meetings till the following month. So I packed us a kai and some drinks, and we were back in Invercargill for a 6 p.m. Speedway start. We just took the car to Speedway, leaving the bus parked at the NZMCA park in Invercargill. When we got to Speedway, we were able to drive the car into the track, which is always cool. It was great racing on a well-run track, and we were back home in Invercargill by 10 p.m. On Thursday, we had a quiet morning, and then we went back out to Curio Bay in the afternoon. We took a picnic and lay on the grass watching the world go by again. Friday morning, and we had to dump today, so we had to make the decision of where to head to from here. Well, looking at Google Maps, there were a whole heap of waterfalls that I would have loved to go to, but sadly my body would not have allowed me to. We have done the northern end of the Catlins because we went to Kaka Point and Nugget Point from Balclutha. If we decided to continue exploring the Catlins, we'd have to backtrack to Tokanui to dump, so we decided to dump in Tokanui and head back to Invercargill. We went back to Ascot Racecourse, and surprisingly, still there were no other motorhomes. This is our ideal kind of place, for sure. You just can't beat having your own space. And only $15 a night. We just hung out at home today and did a little cleaning, but not much else. On Saturday morning, I woke to the sun rising over the racecourse, the sound of horses training on the track, and a hot coffee delivered in bed. I'm absolutely loving these coffees in bed. It's the best way to start a day. Paul wanted to do some work on the wheels on the bus, so he did one before it got too hot, and by mid-morning, that was it. It was hot, so hot. It was cup day at the racecourse, so we decided to go out for the day and leave the horses and punters to it. So we went back to Riverton for a replay on the last time. Swim, fish and chips, and cockles. Swim was divine, and then we went back to the same fish and chip shop, but this time it just wasn't cooked the same, which was such a letdown. We got more cockles though. Home to watch the tail end of Cup Day, which was cool. We still had our own space. The punters set up marquees and tents, but we were quite nicely tucked right down the end, and they were gone by 7. On Sunday we did some shopping, Noel Leeming, Torpedo 7, because, you know, NZMCA discounts. And then we went into E. Hayes, where they have a heap of Burt Munro's stuff. There's lots to look at, and some very passionate and knowledgeable staff too. On Monday, Paul did 2 more wheels in the morning while I did a load of washing and went to Mitre 10 for more paint. In the afternoon, we took the bus out to dump our waste and refill our fresh water. So convenient having the dump station a K from where you park. On the 21st of Feb, I did another load of washing while Paul did the last wheel. By 2 p.m. it was raining, and so we lit our icicle candle, watched CRC Motorsport, and just chilled. It rained most of the night and into the morning. So we had a pretty chill morning in the bus. We made some phone calls, and I made a bread starter. By 10:30 we were in town, parked up, and we were walking into the classic motorcycle mecca, which was another really great museum. All things motorcycles from way back. It was epic. You really can spend hours and hours in these museums. We had Subway for lunch, and then we went home for coffee and rest. Oh, and to bake the bread. The next day we went into town to suss out getting 4 new tyres. None of the obvious places had the tyres that we wanted in stock, and so because NZMCA and Carter's Tyres are affiliated, we decided to go with Carter's for the discount. So expecting the tyres to take about 3 days to get here, we just spent the next few days exploring other places that we wanted to see around Invercargill, like Queen's Park, which we actually explored over 2 days because it's so big and there's so much to see here. Rock gardens, rose gardens, sculptures, artworks, playgrounds, animals, you name it. We found a great spot on the estuary around Otatara or Sandy Point where I gave in to my urge to collect. We were also spending our days preparing to leave Invercargill because as soon as our tyres came and we had those, we were going to start heading north. On the 2nd of March, we got the call that the tyres had come in, so we took the bus into Carter's and got our new tyres. So 1 hour and $2,260 later, we were out of there. We fueled up, $170 a diesel, went to the dump station, and then went back to the racecourse to pick up the car, because today we're leaving Invercargill. And I'm not sure we'll ever be back in the deep south. But then again, never say never though, right? We're heading into Lake Central next, and that is pure soul food. Be sure to check back so you can join us for the next leg of our trip around Te Waipuanamu o Aotearoa, the South Island of New Zealand. Kia ora.